Wait, pause for a second. Let me ask you something that might sting a little. Have you ever been in a situation where everything seemed fine one day? Texts flying back and forth, calls that lasted for hours, laughter shared between pauses, and then suddenly, nothing? Like a light switch flipped off. And she says she's just busy. But deep down, something doesn't feel right. Let me be honest with you. When someone's truly into you, their communication doesn't just disappear into thin air. They don't suddenly go silent without reason. People don't ghost those they care about. So when a woman who once used to light up at the sight of your name now barely replies or leaves you hanging for hours, days even, without any explanation, she's not overwhelmed. She's not drowning in work. She's just not making room for you anymore. You see, being busy is part of life. We all have careers, families, responsibilities, but the people who value you make time. Even a 2-second text to say, hey, today's crazy, but I'll call you when I can, speaks volumes. That's what real consideration looks like. It's not about how much time someone has. It's about what they do with the time they do have. And if you're not showing up in those small spaces anymore, then it's not about being busy. It's about priorities. And you're no longer one of them. But here's where we often trip. We excuse the silence. We tell ourselves, maybe she's stressed, maybe she's overwhelmed, maybe it's me overthinking. So we wait, we double text, we cling on to those few moments she gives, thinking they're proof that she still cares. But the truth is, when someone wants to be in your life, their actions never leave you guessing. You don't have to decode delayed responses or feel like you're begging for scraps of attention. What happens instead is consistency, effort, initiative. That's how you know someone is genuinely interested. But when communication dries up without context, when the calls stop and the texts become rare, don't fall into the trap of chasing shadows. Her silence is speaking, even if her lips aren't moving. What hurts most is that we often stay hoping the old version of her will return. But when communication fades and nothing fills that gap, not even a real explanation, that's not love. That's not interest. That's someone quietly easing their way out, hoping you won't notice, or worse, hoping you'll just take the hint without confrontation. So no, she's not busy, she's just not choosing you. And the sooner you recognize that, the sooner you can stop clinging to a connection that already left the room. Let me ask you something that'll hit home. Have you ever stared at your phone, wondering why she hasn't responded, only to see her active on social media, liking posts, posting selfies, uploading stories, even replying to comments, just not yours? That right there isn't confusion, it's clarity in disguise. She's not busy, she's just ignoring you. See, we live in a time where everyone is connected. Our phones are practically glued to our hands. So let's stop pretending she didn't see your message. Let's stop lying to ourselves with that old excuse of maybe she just didn't have time to reply, because if she has time to scroll, to post, to comment, to laugh at memes, to tag her friends, to watch live stories, she absolutely had time to text you back. She just chose not to. It hurts. It stings because it makes you feel invisible. And worse, it sends your mind spinning in circles trying to understand why. But don't be fooled. Her online presence is a mirror of her priorities. If she's consistently present online, but absent in your conversations, she's not caught up in a whirlwind of responsibilities. She's just not prioritizing you. And that's a tough truth to accept when your heart is still holding on. You know, it's one thing for someone to be genuinely unavailable. Emergencies happen, deadlines stack up, life gets chaotic. But even in the midst of chaos, people make room for who they care about. That little heart emoji, that quick, hey, I'll talk later, that 10-second voice note, they're not hard. They're not grand gestures, but they're meaningful when you matter to someone. So when you see her online all day, when she's active and present everywhere else but treats your message like it's invisible, understand the message behind the silence. Her attention is somewhere else. Her energy is somewhere else. And it's time you stop pretending not to notice. Because here's the thing. When someone really wants to talk to you, they don't make you chase them around a digital world hoping for crumbs. They come to you. They respond to you. They prioritize you. I get it. It's easier to believe the lie than face the truth. It's easier to say she's just distracted, she'll come around, she's just under pressure. But if you keep excusing this pattern, you'll eventually start thinking you deserve this kind of treatment, and you don't. So the next time you see her online, but your message sits untouched, don't overthink, don't second guess. The answer is already in front of you. Her actions are louder than anything she could ever say, and the louder they get, the more you need to start listening. Let me hit you with a hard truth. If you stopped texting her today, would she even notice? Would she check in tomorrow, the next day, or even next week? Or would your silence be met with more silence? Think about that for a second. Because when someone really wants to be in your life, their absence feels loud. But when someone's been quietly slipping away, your absence doesn't shake a thing. Let's stop pretending that effort doesn't matter. It does. And it's not just about replying to messages. It's about who initiates. If you're the only one consistently reaching out, always asking how her day went, always being the first to check in, always suggesting to meet up, always trying to keep things alive, you're not in a relationship. You're in a performance. And you're the only one on stage. See, people make time for what they want. It doesn't have to be daily grand gestures. It's the little things. The random "I miss you" text. The spontaneous call just to hear your voice. The "let's grab coffee" suggestion. When those things disappear, and you realize that if you don't message her, the conversation dies, pay attention. That's not love fading. That's effort being withdrawn on purpose. The most dangerous part? We convince ourselves it's just a phase. She's probably waiting for me to reach out. Maybe she's just not good at starting conversations. No, what's really happening is you're chasing someone who's no longer interested in being caught. And the worst part is, they want you to keep chasing because the attention you give still serves their ego, even if their heart left the room a long time ago. And here's another layer to it. She used to initiate. Remember that? The late night calls, the flirty texts, the cute little thinking about you messages. It wasn't always one-sided, but now you're doing all the heavy lifting while she sits back and gives you just enough to keep you around. That's not connection. That's manipulation through inconsistency. You deserve someone who matches your energy. Someone who gets just as excited to talk to you, who can't wait to see you, who checks in not because they have to, but because they want to. But as long as you keep doing all the work, you're letting her get comfortable with giving you nothing. And people don't step up when they're already being carried. So ask yourself, what happens if I stop calling, stop texting, stop planning? If the answer is nothing, then maybe it's time to accept that you're not being missed. You're just being tolerated. Let me ask you this. Have you ever read a message from her and felt nothing? Not because you don't care, but because the energy behind her words is so empty, so flat, it feels like she's just going through the motions? That's not you overthinking, that's the shift you've been avoiding. Because when a woman starts replying with dry, cold, mechanical texts, she's not tired. She's checked out. You remember how it used to be. Her messages used to make you smile. There was playfulness, warmth, effort. She used emojis, voice notes, GIFs. Her words carried a certain rhythm that made you feel wanted. And now it's just "K, lol, and I'm busy." That's not the language of love. That's the language of detachment, and you're feeling it more and more with each conversation. When someone wants you, their communication reflects their interest. It's not just about fast replies or long messages. It's about presence, emotion, intent. But when her responses start to sound like a robot on autopilot, that's not love being maintained. That's politeness wrapped around emotional distance. She's replying, sure, but not connecting. And there's a difference, a big one. You don't need a long paragraph to feel someone's interest. Even a short "I miss you" can hit deep when it's real, but when her words start to feel cold, her tone detached, and her energy low, she's no longer trying to make you feel anything. She's just maintaining surface-level contact to avoid looking heartless, while emotionally, she's already somewhere else. We often make excuses here too. She's just tired. She's stressed. Maybe she's not a good texter. But here's the deal. People put in real effort for the people they want to talk to, even when they're exhausted, even when life is hard. If you matter to her, you'll feel it in her tone. You won't have to decode or analyze every reply, wondering, is she okay? Did I do something wrong? Why does it feel like I'm texting a stranger? And let's not ignore the pattern. You try to bring energy into the conversation, ask about her day, compliment her, share a meme, start a playful banter, but nothing comes back. No spark, no humor, no real emotional return. Just deadpan replies that keep the conversation barely breathing. That's not disinterest in the topic, that's disinterest in you. Sometimes what we don't say speaks louder than what we do. And if her words are starting to feel like routine rather than response, if her messages no longer make you feel seen, wanted, or valued, then that's your answer. She's not being distant by accident. She's pulling away with intention. And all that coldness you're feeling, it's not the weather. It's her silence, disguised as conversation. Let me hit you with this. How many times have you heard her say, I've just been really busy lately, or things are crazy right now, but we'll talk soon, only for nothing to actually change? She says she's overwhelmed. She says she's just got a lot going on, but days pass, weeks even, and still there's no effort to reach back, no real attempt to reconnect. At some point, you have to realize the pattern isn't temporary, it's intentional. Because people who truly care don't keep you in limbo. They don't hide behind excuses. They don't keep promising future time with no action in the present. And yet you find yourself clinging to every maybe later, holding on to the idea that she just needs space, time, or rest. But meanwhile, her actions, or lack of them, tell a different story. Here's what you need to understand. Excuses are easy to make. Saying you're busy costs nothing. But prioritizing someone, even in the smallest way, takes intention. That intention is what separates someone who still wants you in their life from someone who's just avoiding the hard conversation. Because if she truly wanted to reconnect, to see you, to talk to you, she would. Even a 30-second message saying, hey, I haven't forgotten about you, just need a little time, would be enough to keep the connection real. But you don't get that. You get vague promises, empty words, delayed responses followed by silence. What's worse is that we often fall for it. We tell ourselves, she said next week. She said after the project ends. She said she misses me but just needs space. But week after week, the effort never comes. And if you're honest with yourself, you'll see you've been stuck in this cycle far too long. Waiting, hoping, overanalyzing, convincing yourself she's just under pressure. But pressure doesn't erase effort. People under pressure still reach for the ones they care about. Even in chaos, they find time for who matters. You've got to stop listening to just what she says and start watching what she does. Does she follow through? Does she check in? Does she make time? Or is she just giving you breadcrumbs to keep you around, hoping you'll stay quietly in the background while she focuses her energy elsewhere? And the truth is, deep down, you already know. You've felt the shift. You've noticed that you're the only one trying to keep the bond alive. That should tell you everything you need to know. Love isn't about making excuses. It's about making space. So if she's constantly telling you she can't, but never showing you that she wants to, then it's time to stop waiting for her to come back and start paying attention to how long she's been gone. Stop right here. Before you send another message, before you replay that last conversation in your head one more time, ask yourself this. Why do I keep trying to convince myself that she still cares when everything in me already knows she doesn't? That feeling in your chest, the tightness, the confusion, the second guessing, it's not paranoia. That's your gut screaming at you to wake up. We like to pretend we don't know when someone is pulling away, but we do. We always do. We feel it before we understand it. We sense the shift in tone, the drop in energy, the subtle disinterest. And still, we hold on, hoping for something to change, hoping the person we miss will suddenly reappear with the same love we remember. But here's the truth most don't want to admit. You don't need a sign. You already saw it. You don't need more proof. You already feel it. And that's the part that hurts the most. Knowing and still hoping. You keep telling yourself maybe she's just going through something, maybe she's distant because of stress, maybe she needs time. And sure, those things might be true. But even people who are hurting find ways to love when they care. They may not be perfect, but they don't leave you wondering where you stand. The problem isn't that she's too busy or too overwhelmed. The problem is that you're too emotionally invested to accept that her effort doesn't match yours anymore. And that gut feeling you keep pushing down, it's there for a reason. It's trying to protect you. But instead of listening, you silence it with excuses. You scroll back through old messages, hoping to find clues of her still caring. You reread her words, dissecting them for hidden meanings. You ignore the present reality and drown yourself in old memories. That's not love. That's emotional survival. That's trying to fill the gap between what you feel and what she's no longer giving. It's hard to let go when your heart is still full. But ask yourself, how much longer are you willing to fight for someone who isn't even showing up for you anymore? How long will you keep breaking your own heart just to protect hers? Because at some point, self-respect has to speak louder than silence. At some point, you have to trust what your gut has been telling you all along. You don't need more mixed signals. You don't need another breadcrumb of attention. What you need is honesty with yourself. If her actions have already shown you the truth, stop waiting for her words to confirm it. Sometimes your peace begins the moment you stop hoping for something that's no longer there.